So I'm really pleased. Our next guest, and one of the reasons I filled in was because she didn't have time to get a selfie with Jeremy beforehand. So she had to have, and I'm very pleased. She is a doctor. She works at St George's in Tooting, and she is also a former resident of Grenfell Tower. So please welcome to this stage Mona Kamal.
Hello, everyone. So as you just heard, my name's Mona Kamal. I'm an NHS worker and campaigner. And I'm also a past resident of Grenfell Tower. When my parents arrived here from Egypt many, many years ago, Grenfell was where they first settled, and it was the first place that I called home. And a few weeks ago, 3 weeks ago now, I stood outside my front door, because I still live nearby, and I watched as my neighbours and our friends burnt to death. And what's been described as the worst tragedy, London's worst tragedy since the Second World War, is really a story about the brutality of Tory austerity and its human consequences. And it was as avoidable as it was tragic. By now, we already know about the Tory Council's many, many failings. We know that the residents, local campaign groups, and many of the Labour councillors had protested the unsafe conditions in that building and had been ignored. We know that they'd complained about the lack of sprinklers, the lack of emergency exits, and all sorts of other concerns, and were completely dismissed. We know about the complete contempt for those residents by the Tory Council, who threatened them with legal action to try and silence them, and told them that they needed to be grateful for the makeover that the building was receiving, a makeover which was necessary to make the building look pretty for those in the newly built luxury houses nearby, using, we now know, flammable material. We also know about the staggering inequalities within Kensington, where we have seen the withdrawal of our libraries, our nurseries, our homelessness prevention schemes, all whilst the very richest in the borough can have their council tax refunded. And that this has happened against a backdrop of a government that's itself filled with landlords and has consistently voted against the rights of tenants. Those missing residents in Grenfell were killed by the two most lethal Tory ideologies: austerity, which denied them safety, and the idolatry of wealth, which consistently puts the pursuit of private profit ahead of the welfare of our communities. And the Grenfell tragedy doesn't stand alone. This is the same government that's turned the NHS into a humanitarian crisis, the same government which has been found guilty by the United Nations about breaches of human rights against disabled people through their welfare reforms. And it's the same one whose welfare reforms and work capability assessments have contributed to hundreds of patients with chronic mental illness completing suicide. This is a study that was carried out in South London in the trust that I work in. And just as I've seen life from inside Grenfell, I've seen it from inside the NHS. I've watched the deliberate destruction of this country's most progressive and most civilised institutions. I've watched it being destroyed through austerity cuts, but also through privatisation, creating a two-tier system where those who can afford to pay can jump the queue, and the rest of us receive our treatment within a system that is struggling due to cuts and being overstretched. At the root of both Grenfell and the destruction of the NHS is the same faulty Tory ideology that some lives are simply worth less than others, and also that private financial gain is worth more than public service. Nothing will erase the horror of Grenfell Tower. The entire community is traumatised still, and it will forever be the enduring symbol of everything that is destructive about this government and its assault on the poorest. The community is traumatised, but we don't want sympathy. We want action and we want accountability. We've been warned not to politicise this tragedy or to play politics, but it's their politics that have caused this tragedy. And we cannot allow an inquiry which should be looking at the culpability of actual government ministers and Tory councillors to be overseen and have its remit dictated by the government. That simply isn't possible. And yet it's beginning to happen. We see this happening already. But all of us here, all of us in this room know that hope can emerge from this wreckage, that we can make Grenfell the end of austerity and bring about an alternative to this barbarism. Every day, this government is showing itself to be as weak and incompetent as they are cruel. And the last election campaign showed the power of our grassroots organising. Even with the full force of the establishment against him, and in the face of a hostile media, Jeremy Corbyn's politics still won through, and our grassroots campaigning, the Vote NHS campaign, which is the one I was part of included, played a huge part in this. So there's no doubt that change is coming, but it's up to us to make sure that we get back out there and make sure that that change is a radical one. I mean, take the luxury block of flats that was handed over to the Grenfell residents a couple of weeks ago. That didn't happen because the council suddenly developed a conscience. It didn't happen because they had a change of heart. It was because of all of us across London taking to the streets and putting pressure on them. That is the way progress and real change comes about. But there is still a really long way to go for Grenfell and for all of us getting a Labour government. So please support the Justice for Grenfell actions. The next one is on the 16th of July, demanding that the council cabinet step down. And organise within your local communities and campaign groups and join the massive mobilisation against the Tory party conference in October in Manchester later this year. So Jeremy Corbyn is the greatest hope. It's such a rare opportunity. He is the greatest hope for a more equal, more just society, and he's finally being recognised for what he is, which is our next Prime Minister as well. But as I said, it's up to all of us, everybody in this room, to get back out there and to demand it. And it's doable. If we manage to get the Tory MP out of Kensington, one of the safest Tory seats in the country, we can do it across the land. Thanks very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mona.